another edition of A Plus Wrestling here on this, well, it's a Monday because it's just the beginning of the long weekend here, everywhere, loving it. Thank you so much for listening. We're your hosts. I'm Boris, and as always, I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the Matt.
Bonjour. How's everybody doing out there? We hope you're doing well. We hope you're enjoying this week and will enjoy Thanksgiving if you're in the United States coming up this Thursday. And yeah, we have a couple things to discuss here, Boris. Professional wrestling wise, there was an AEW Full Gear pay-per-view. We got a tournament coming up. We got Survivor Series on Saturday from Vancouver, Canada. By God, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, I was actually talking to my brother yesterday. He wants to go, obviously, right? And at first, I think we were talking about the how expensive the tickets were, but now they're sub $200, so it's like it's reasonable-ish for a pay-per-view and whatnot, right? Like, it's still insane. I still think it's insane, but the prices are coming down. So, you know, for those of you who are in the Vancouver area, I know that there are a few of you. Keep an eye out. Go to the show. Let us know what you think. We're going to be reviewing that next week. But yeah, man, ticket prices are insane for anything. Just a complete like so here in Toronto, I'm so interested to see what the Elimination Chamber prices are going to be. So Post Malone, the artist known as Post Malone, he has a big concert at the Skydome next year where Elimination Chamber is going to be. Opening act is Jelly Roll. So pretty big lineup just on that alone, right? 500 level, which is the top. First row, $600 each.
Whoa!
And that's regular. That's not resale. That's regular Ticketmaster pricing.
Oof. And that will go down closer to the day, right? When is that concert?
I want to say August sometime.
Oof. Okay, so a long ways away then, but geez, crow, that is pretty bad, Boris. Oh my goodness, I don't think the wrestling show will be that expensive, but yeah, it'll probably cost $100 to get your foot in the door anywhere in the entire building.
At least, man. But with it not being a major show in the sense of, you know, the big four, you want to give TKO the benefit of the doubt, but it is TKO. Look at the prices for UFC and whatnot nowadays, right?
Yeah, just milking that Trump fan base for all they're worth. UFC is spiritually and financially, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how expensive the worst ticket in the Skydome ends up being.
Yep. All right, yeah, so we have AEW Full Gear happened. We're going to be talking some Survivor Series later, as you mentioned. Continental Classic. Let us start with some Continental Classic.
Sure.
Matt, what do you like? We didn't really talk too much about this last year, but what did you think of the Continental Classic and how it ended up going? And does this second iteration, knowing that Okada is the defending reigning champion, you know, how do you feel about all that?
Well, yeah. So Eddie Kingston beat Jon Moxley in the final. I think that was pretty obvious that's what it was going to be. But I like the concept. I wish this year they would have done a little more in terms of like people winning matches to qualify for it, or at least like them explaining some kind of thought or logic behind why these people are in it, because right now it does kind of feel like just Tony Khan threw some mid-carders who had nothing to do in a tournament, which is like it is what happens here. It's fine. The matches are going to be awesome, but it's just like everything else in AEW. If they took a little more time to just tell a coherent, interesting story, it would help the wrestling so much, because the wrestling is great in AEW. It's really generally very good in the ring. They just kind of falter on everything else. So I wish, for example, like the Beast Mortos lost a 4-way match on the Full Gear undercard. Now he's in this. I wish they would have even just let him win that one match. Do you know what I mean? Just little things like that. Like that could have been a Continental Classic qualifier easily. They do this selection Sunday. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your spiel.
Yeah, my last point is they do the Selection Sunday show on YouTube, and it's a pretty good idea. Like it reminiscent of the college basketball Selection Sunday special. If you're a fan of the NCAA tournament, like pretty cool. But they offer no explanation as to how these people got here, why they're in the tournament, or what the tournament is even really for. Like the winner gets to hold the belt that Okada currently holds. Cool. That's it. That's like, so it's just like they have an opportunity. They have something really special. And some of these matches are going to be awesome, as we'll go through in a sec, but they just don't care to tell a story. And it's so weird. It's just like, why not even try, you know?
That's the frustrating part about where we are with AEW, right? And it really gets to me because a company that's so hell bent on keeping wins and losses and making them think, making you think that it matters, they don't follow any logic of that themselves. And that is infuriating as a fan. It's infuriating. Like, if you don't give a shit, why am I?
Exactly right. Exactly right. And through all that, the Continental Classic is going to be good. It's going to be interesting. There will be some awesome matches throughout. The Blue League looks pretty cool. Looks like set up for Okada to crush through. But there's going to be some interesting matchups. And the Gold League, pretty much every match, every combination in the Gold League is something I really want to see. So yeah, let's get into it.
I think you have it right there. So I'll let you.
Yes, I do. All right, buddy. So yes, the Blue League combatants. We have Okada, who comes in as the tournament champion. I guess he didn't win last year, but he did end up with the Continental belt, which is what the winner of this tournament will leave with. So we have Okada. We have Shelton Benjamin, who has wrestled Kazuchika Okada before. That'll be a good match, I'm sure. Mark Briscoe is in this bracket. Kyle Fletcher, Daniel Garcia, and the Beast Mortos are all with Kazuchika Okada in the Blue League. So again, it's a round robin tournament. All of these 6 wrestlers will wrestle each other. They will have 5 matches total, and whoever has the most points, the most wins basically, but it's 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw each. Whoever has the most points at the end will make a semifinal where they have to wrestle one more time in the group to get out of it. One thing I liked about the Continental Classic last year, Boris, is everyone who was tied in the end went into a match. So if it's 2 people who are tied, it's just a singles match. If it's 3 people who are tied for the lead, it's a triple threat match. And I imagine if it were 4 people, if it were 5 people, if it were 6 people, it's just going to be one big match with all the tied combatants. So I like that idea. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, Blue League, Kazuchika Okada's to lose, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hoping. That should happen, but you never know with AEW, right? And their logic and forethought sometimes.
Yes, that is fair. And that brings us to the Gold League. So Darby Allin, the presumptive next world champion, is in this league. I don't think he's going to win, actually. Darby Allin, Claudio Castagnoli, Brody King, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Juice Robinson. Poor Juice is there to eat pinfalls.
Yeah.
But the Gold League looks tough time. Juice is going to be squeezed hard in this one. But yeah, the Gold League looks awesome. Like Darby versus Will Ospreay, Darby versus Ricochet, Brody King versus Claudio, Brody King versus Ospreay and Ricochet, Juice Robinson versus Brody King. Sounds awesome to me. I really want to see that. Like every single match in the Gold League it looks pretty great. But so my head says, logic says Darby Allin should win the Gold League, lose to Okada, setting up a future match when Darby is the world champion. That's what I think should happen. I don't think it will. What do you think is going to happen in the Gold League?
I think you're right on that. My only issue with that is if you know the next champion that everyone is saying will be Darby Allin, he shouldn't have be in this tournament unless he wins. What is the logic and motivation for him to go up to the heavyweight division at that point? Right? That's my issue with that.
Makes a lot of sense. I think the on paper reason for putting Darby in this is to give him a lot of challengers when he does win the title. You can say, oh, he lost to Brody King in the Classic. Oh, he lost to Claudio in the Classic. Whatever, you know what I mean? So I do think there's a lot of wisdom in specifically Darby versus Okada. If he does make the finals, it'll be against Okada and he's not going to win. I think this is definitely going to be an Okada win here in the Continental Classic. But I think that's why they're doing it. But I worry again that you're going to beat Darby too much. So I think it's going to come down to either Ospreay or Ricochet to win this. And I kind of feel like Ricochet needs the big W. I'm going to pick Ricochet to win the Gold League.
I like that choice. That's a sound choice, especially like again, right? Ricochet goes into AEW wanting to prove himself, wanting to prove that he is the man, that he's not just, a 20 trick pony or whatever, right? So I think he needs these W's. I think he needs to be featured. I think that's how you kind of put away some of that WWE stink from him, right?
Yes. Whatever stank is still on him from WWE, this is a good place to rub off said stank. And yeah, like Ricochet versus Claudio is going to slap. Ricochet versus Brody King, Ricochet versus Darby Allin. He's got a chance to have 5 good matches. Obviously, Ricochet versus Ospreay is going to be good. It always is. So yeah, the Gold League is way more up for debate. I think clearly Okada is poised to win the blue. And I would say Okada is winning this tournament. And I'm going to say over Rick O'Shea, noted Irish wrestler.
Yeah, and we will be talking about the Continental Classic each and every week here on A Plus Wrestling. That gets started this Thanksgiving Eve, Wednesday, from Chicago, Illinois, USA. All right, man. So, yeah, AEW just had a pay-per-view. As always, great show. Great show. A lot of the matches, again, not the best build-up, not the most logical reason why they're there, but good show. The one thing is, what would have taken this show from good to great, in my opinion, even though I did say it was a great show, was just cutting back on a couple of matches. There's a few matches that, I don't think didn't need to be on the pay-per-view card, but otherwise, really good show.
Yeah, it's the AEW thing. Like they always put 12 matches on the pay-per-view and you know what you're going to get. It's almost too much of a good thing, but at the end of the day, I don't know. Like you can't I know exactly what you're saying. Can't really complain. I appreciate that we have AEW still doing this, like still overloading the show, the smorgasbord of wrestling, and WWE going back down to like 5-6 matches max in a pay-per-view. I like that we have the balance.
Yeah, no, it's a good balance. It's a good balance to have, right? And especially when you think about the pacing of shows, right? WWE, because they're on Peacock, they have to have commercials. I think people always forget that when it comes to the pay-per-views, right? Like there is the commercials, and that's why you get breaks. That's why there's a huge buildup. And again, it's kind of like a UFC card where there is a lot of break between matches. So they try to make it seem like, big match card and this and that. And, whereas in AEW, it's like bam, 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 bam. Sometimes that pacing, you forget about some matches right away, right? It doesn't give you that time to digest certain things. And that's the one issue sometimes with AEW pay-per-views as well.
It's a really interesting point, man. I totally agree. Yeah, like a UFC show is a good example. Like the WWE shows, they bake into the pie these downtimes, these breaks. So yeah, you do, like, for example, a perfect example on this AEW Full Gear show was Ricochet versus Takeshita. They just had that match in a warehouse in an indie show somewhere. People would be losing their fucking minds. It was a really well performed professional wrestling match that just totally fell through the wayside, like totally slipped between the cracks of this show because it's just hard to digest everything when you get 12 matches in rapid succession like that. It's a very good point.
And the other thing is, like, both companies has this issue right now where, dare I say that the wrestling at this point is too good, like in the sense of nothing stands out for the most part because every match is good at this point.
It's an interesting point, and that's why AEW is suffering a little bit because everyone is a really good wrestler. Everyone does backflips. Everyone is like pretty crisp. There are very few terrible, hopeless professional wrestlers in the ring anymore. And the styles of each wrestler are getting less and less diverse. Like everyone's kind of becoming a flippy guy, and that's in the entire business, or flippy girl. So Yeah, I totally get that. And AEW matches do a little bit feel the same in the way that WWE had like a style for a long time. AEW sort of now kind of has a style that way. Like we're going to see tons of flips, tons of dives, tons of kickouts, perhaps too many kickouts in every single match. It's kind of like the PWG style brought to the mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to put it, I think. All right, let's talk some AEW Full Gear from Newark, New Jersey, the Prudential Center. Really good attendance. Keep that up, AEW. Here's the thing. I think everyone now has figured it out. Pay-per-views? Good. Week-to-week TV? Doesn't mean shit. And I think that's the trend that we're going to be seeing over the next 12 months with AEW is where pay-per-views are going to be well attended and tons of fun, but the TVs are still going to suffer as long as they keep renting out these huge-ass buildings.
Yes, absolutely right. And until they tell more coherent, more satisfying stories for viewers to watch, that's going to be a thing. But yeah, we'll go through the pre-show quickly and then hit the main card. First match on the evening was Anna Jay versus Deonna Purrazzo. Did you watch the pre-show, Boris?
I did actually, and man, oh man, look, I know they're trying to get Anna Jay over really hard right now, right? Like they have this goal that she's going to contend against Mara May at some point, most likely, right? Even though she already did, but you know what I mean. But Deonna Purrazzo, like, it's one of those cases of super excited to have her there, but
Yeah, she's lost almost nonstop the entire time she's been there. She has a cool new character, a cool new presentation, at least, with Taya Valkyrie as kind of her second in command, her Robin, her Gumar, if you will, Boris, to some extent. But yeah, so Deonna Purrazzo loses yet again to Anna Jay via like a roll up thing 7 minutes into this one. It was like a fine match. They're pretty decent wrestlers. It started off very wonky. Like in the first 5 seconds, it looked like they kind of got confused, but they picked it up. And yeah, I mean, solid match. I just felt bad. Tough beat for Deonna Purrazzo.
yeah, that's my takeaway. That is 100% my takeaway from this is tough beat for Deonna Purrazzo. It sucks, but here we are.
Yes, here we are. Match number 2 on the evening, a 4-way match. Buddy Matthews versus Dante Martin versus Commander versus the Beast Mortos. So by all means, this should have just been a Continental Classic qualifier that the Beast Mortos won. As it was, Buddy Matthews won this match. Which came out of nowhere, had no stakes, and kind of ultimately will be meaningless. But the crowd loved Buddy Matthews in this one. They really showed up for Buddy Matthews, and I hope this is the start of some kind of meaningful something for this guy, one of many people who are just lost in the shuffle in AEW.
You would hope so, right? Like that's what I'm hoping. He's so underutilized. He's so fucking good. It's insane how good that guy is. I hope he does get a bit of a run. But you just honestly, you just don't know. You just don't know in AEW sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that, and we've talked about it. Other people have talked about it at length. It's just that there's too many people and not enough spots, and it's tough for people to maintain momentum. So all we can do as a fan is hope that momentum will be maintained for this great performer on this television program. And that brings us to the main event of the prelims. Big Boom AJ with Big Justice and, of course, your boy, the Rizzler, versus QT Marshall in a special grudge match, a special attraction. I actually quite enjoyed this. The crowd loved the Rizzler, who is an 8-year-old overweight child. And I say that with love, as 2 overweight podcasters tell you about it. But yeah, it's just like, it's a very strange world we live in, big homie.
Yeah, this match was fine. Some news: AJ apparently wrestled with a broken fucking foot.
Really?
Yeah.
He's like
more respect.
He's like the Kurt Angle of TikTok. Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing.
But yeah, again, there's been a lot of conversation about this. This did possibly get some fresh eyes on AEW, and that's all you can ask for. Like we said, if one person who wasn't watching AEW is a fan of these guys, watched these guys in AEW, and continues to watch AEW, than success.
Yes, exactly. Like, I don't think it's going to add to hundreds of thousands of more people buying Full Gear 2024, but it's a long game. You're trying to hook fans. You're trying to use outside sources. That's a tale as old as time in professional wrestling. A great friend of the show, Blaine Vandergrind. We had a big talk about this on Facebook, and I think we kind of like we had, it was a good chat. I like when Blaine gets into it. I totally agree with his one point is that Tony Khan promoted this. If anything, this should have been a bigger deal on AEW television. They should have been talking about it way more on Dynamite. This should have been a major promotional focus, and honestly probably should have been on the Full Gear card, although I think it makes a lot of sense. I definitely understand the logic, and I kind of like the fact that they put it on YouTube because, like it or not, hundreds of thousands of more people are watching the YouTube than the actual show.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's that. Logically, I understand, but you can make the argument for both, right? Like having it on the undercard versus the main card and all that fun stuff. And my one thing that always made me laugh is this match outside of the main event was probably the best built match on the entire card.
Oh, sad, but actually true. like for sure. That is a sad state of affairs. I guess you could say Fletcher versus Osprey, but yeah, no, this was definitely this was the only match that they talked about on fucking Jimmy Fallon. You know what I mean? Like it got a lot of mainstream attention.
Yeah, then that's all you can ask for. Attention is good, my friends. Wrestling is for everyone. Don't gatekeep wrestling.
No, yes, there's nothing more annoying and sad, honestly, truly sad than like a gatekeeper trying to act like they're holier than thou in this pretend fight business. And I know, like, I deeply respect what wrestlers do and how they put their bodies on the line, but let's not forget that they're grown men and women pretending to fight in their underpants, as the cliche goes. Like, that's the people say that because it's fucking true, and you can watch the show and see it. Like, anyway, very entertaining celebrity match. Big Boom AJ, as has been discussed many times, a former professional wrestler himself, a New Jersey indie legend, Boris. And yeah, he gets the win with the power boom, which was a power bomb, defeating QT Marshall and probably ending this feud. But hey, throw Big Boom into the fucking Continental Classic, you cowards.
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious. But yeah, overall, good 0 hour or whatever they call it nowadays.
Yes, yeah, I like to just call them the prelims, a la UFC, and it was an entertaining bit of preliminary action.
Yep. All right, main card. Very, very interesting way to start the show with the four-way tag team. We talked about this at length last week. What did you think of this match? And we're talking about the four-way for the AEW tag team titles. You had Private Party, Kings of the Black Throne, the Outrunners, and the Acclaimed.
Yeah, it was pretty much exactly what you would expect. Fatal four-way tag team match. Lots of flippy doos, lots of spots happening. Not a ton of psychology. Not sure even the wrestlers in the ring knew or cared about who was, quote, the legal man. It was a stunt show. It was a gymnastics fest. It was a bit of fun, though. I liked it. We called it the Fumbled Bag Bowl on our last podcast, and I'm sticking with that. Like, it seems like they almost have completely missed the boat on Malachi Black and Brody King and Buddy Matthews, as we were just talking about. Like the House of Black. In this case, the tag team is known as the Kings of the Black Throne, Black and Brody King. It makes me sad to see them losing a fatal four-way tag team match in the opening. Like, there's just too many people in AEW, and none of them really have anything to do, and it's sad. The Acclaimed got time to shit or get off the pot on that one.
And I think this match really planted some seeds of where they're going to go with the breakup of the Acclaimed.
Yes, it sure seems like it. Sure seems like it. For the Outrunners, very worried that the fruit is starting to rot. It's already become ripe and is now starting to rot a little bit with the Outrunners. Like, they got to do something to keep them popular and keep them above just like joke jobber status. But it was nice to see the Outrunners on pay-per-view inexplicably for the first time here in November 2024.
Yeah, and they've been killing it in ROH for the past year. And all of a sudden now it's like, oh yeah, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And I hope that the Outrunners can stay relevant, but I fear that They're just gonna ride off into the sunset of AEW catering.
Yeah, sad but true. But let's hope they have something going for these outrunners. Private Party, they are finally getting their push. Years too late, but at least they won this match. They had to defend the tag team titles at least a couple of times, and they've defended them once. Here we go. So Private Party, your champions. They win the match. It was good. It was pretty solid.
Yeah, it was what it was, right? It was a short match for a 4-way.
Yes, 13 minutes and 25 seconds, according to Wikipedia here, the Wikipedia entry on AEW Full Gear 2024.
Yep. All right, let us move on to the next match, which was MJF versus Roderick Strong.
Yeah, you're going to hear this a lot up and down the show. Like, the build was dumb, although MJF did cut a pretty cool promo from Roderick Strong's hometown, his trailer park that he grew up in, allegedly. MJF was there cutting a promo. That was pretty good. But yeah, this was a fine technical match. Feels like they both kind of went like 75, 80%. Like, they didn't do their main event match. They did their second on the card match. But because they're so talented, it was pretty damn good.
Yeah, it was Roderick Strong. Sometimes that's a guy who can honestly wrestle anyone and have a great match.
Yes, we've seen it. When he was very young, he had a squash match on SmackDown against Kurt Angle, like 2005. He was already a ROH like superstar by that time. And yeah, since then, he's been just absolutely sick in a number of companies. He can have a good match with the Velveteen Dream or the Beast Mortos or Maxwell Jacob Friedman, who is himself highly competent.
Velveteen Dream. Well, that I forgot about him.
EAM is. Yeah, geez. Oh, man, talk about your fumbled bags. That guy fumbled the bag and a half.
That's what got him in trouble, Matt.
Fumbling people's bags. Let's move on forever for the love of God.
Yeah. Anyways, good match. Let's talk about what happened after the match. MJF jumps on a chair, which was stuck to Strong. Adam Cole is out. Kyle O'Reilly is out. Yeah. This is what I mean. Like, I don't understand. Like, why is O'Reilly blaming Cole for what happened to Strong? Why he could have come out and helped him.
Yes, not only should Kyle have hit the ring and saved Roderick before, Kyle not mad at MJF at all for breaking this guy's arm with a chair, mad at his friend for some reason for not doing anything sooner, though Kyle himself did nothing. So yeah, MJF Pillmanizes, as they say, Roderick Strong's arm with a chair. I guess that might lead to Roderick Strong being out for some length of time. And MJF has now injured Adam Cole's friend and caused his other friend to be mad at him. Ooh, drama. So yeah, this story has long overstayed its welcome, and I hope Adam Cole beats MJF at the next pay-per-view and they just kill it. Just put a mercy shot into it, please.
Honestly, this whole story hurts AEW in the long run.
Yes.
Like, people haven't forgiven AEW over the Devil's storyline, right? So I think that they just need to end this, let them move on, not have them cross paths for like a year. Just completely separate these guys. Because even MJF, this is even hurting MJF. Like, who is MJF at this point? Where is he in the card, right? Like, I feel like he's just gone down the card so much because of this.
Absolutely. It's hurt all of their careers. MJF, Roderick Strong, and Adam Cole. They need to, end the feud with a match. Either person can win. Honestly, it doesn't particularly matter. Although it does feel like they really want Adam Cole to be a strong babyface. So Adam Cole wins over MJF at the next pay-per-view. And they can always hate each other for the rest of time in AEW, the way that like Rick Martel and Tito Santana would, or like Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, when they would face each other in like, I don't know, a Royal Rumble or some kind of 6-man tag or whatever. The crowd would roar and there'd be like, wow, like there would be a lot of tension there. And the conquering babyface Tito Santana would beat the shit out of Rick the Model Martel. They can do that forever, but just this feud, them fighting each other every week needs to end immediately.
Yep. Next match for the TBS Championship, a match that I thought was really good. Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander. Matt, this is the Mercedes Moné that we need week in and week out.
Fuck yeah, brother. Although I will say that I think Mercedes has been better than people have given her credit for. I think this is largely the one we are getting, but these two wrestlers just gelled so well in the ring. They complemented each other perfectly. Chris Statlander, a power-based Pokemon, Mercedes Moné, a speed-based Pokemon. This was absolutely great. I'll go as far to say this was my favorite match on the show. I would say objectively the best match on the show because the other candidate just went a little too long for my tastes. This was not long in the tooth at all. This went like the perfect amount of time. Great match between two talented performers. I loved this match.
I will say something, and my people might yell at me for saying this. This match was about 20 minutes, and it was booked like a WWE match.
I can see that. I definitely. But what do you mean by that, Boris?
Number one, it had a real story in the ring. Like, let's start there, right? There was logic. There was a story being told. The slow build throughout the first 10 minutes, and then the last 10 minutes, they went, dare I say, full gear.
Aha! Ho ho!
But like,
very good.
That's what I mean. Like, it was like you don't see this in AEW too much, where it's you get a real build in a match.
I understand what you were saying. Like, yeah, sometimes it can devolve into a little bit of just a stunt show. Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay, which was the match I was referring to. That was kind of just a little bit of just a stunt show. Takeshita versus Ricochet, spectacular, but kind of just a stunt show. And this definitely had a clear story, clear build, hit a climax, and then there was a winner, and it was Mercedes Moné.
Yep, exactly. And the whole Statlander's bad knee played a huge part in this. That's what I mean about like clear story being told. Great match. Honestly, I'm going to agree with you. This was, now looking up and down the card again, thinking about it, so the sobering second thoughts and whatnot, I do think that this was the best match on the card. I really did enjoy this. This is the Mercedes Moné that we were promised back in March. I'm in the same boat as you. She's not as bad as people think, but this is what, I think the hype really hurt her in the grand scheme of stuff. I think that she got overhyped in a sense, and people are holding that bar really high on her, but this is the match that we need. And her eventual match with Camille is going to be great. I personally hate the Camille character that we're seeing. Like, she's just, just there at this point.
You know what Camille is? It's the exact same character as Wardlow was once upon a time with MJF. It's the exact same. It's like browbeaten helper monkey who takes all this shit for no apparent reason. At least they tried to explain it with Wardlow.
Fucking forgot he even existed.
Sad times for good Cleveland boy. Wardlow, first name Ward, last name, of course, Low. But yeah, no, a great match.
Still
like
better
4
than
stars.
Carry On Cross.
Oh, Wardlow is a better name than Carry On Cross. I still am mad at Carry On Cross just for his name alone. But yeah, great match. Best on the show, in my opinion. Like 4 stars, 4.5 maybe. And you could argue the best match that Mercedes Moné has had since she became Mercedes Moné, like in the Moné era, pre Sasha Banks, post Sasha Banks, I should say. This might be
Sasha Banks too.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's hilarious because she's one day gonna go back for sure. But yeah, no, great match. I personally would think she had a couple better in Japan. This is probably her best AEW match.
Yeah, by far. All right, Jay White, Hangman Adam Page, good match, but one issue, and I understand it's a pay-per-view. I understand people pay for this, but not, and I say this a lot with AEW and New Japan and whatnot. Not every match needs to be 20 fucking minutes.
Yeah, 1955 for this one. Jay White does beat Hangman Adam Page by pinfall. I kind of like the story they're telling where Jay White is the Hangman's kryptonite. Like, he's just a man who has the Cowboys number. I like that. I like this match. Jay White is somehow like a great babyface, and he was such a natural heel. I worried if he could play babyface, but he's also a natural babyface. Turns out he's just a really good wrestler who absolutely understands the business and knows what it means to be a professional wrestler, officially an effective heel and babyface.
Yeah, you know what I like about his face persona? He's basically a bit of a goofball. right? Like he does. It's almost like he doesn't take anything serious until that bell rings. That's what I like. I like when characters can do whatever the fuck they want, right? And I know this is a lot of people's issues with Orange Cassidy and that those type of characters. It's once the bell rings, I feel that wrestlers need to be focused and like not fuck around.
Yeah, because otherwise, what is like it kind of breaks the illusion of wrestling a little bit. And like indie Orange Cassidy was the all time worst quote unquote for that. Although I kind of dug that gimmick and liked it. But yeah, Orange Cassidy now does not resemble that Orange Cassidy at all. So I don't get those. But I know exactly what you're saying. You can't say it anymore. But I know exactly
Yeah,
what you mean.
there's
Yeah, good match.
yeah, good match. I like this. Just went a little too long, but again, no issue in the grand scheme of things. It's just sometimes you need a little bit of a break between matches, and that's kind of how I felt.
Yes.
2 20-minute matches back to back, and then we had the 25-minute match. So by this point of me watching this, I'm like, "Whew, I need a break at this point." But very good match. And then after this, we had Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah. So again, great match. Absolutely like brilliant performance by these two wrestlers. They did a lot of crazy shit. But yeah, just way too long. It was a Judd Apatow movie of a match. Just 25 minutes too long. It was like Funny People.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, I love that so much. I'm stealing that saying.
It's all yours, brother.
Yeah, no, yeah. 25 minutes. They could have cut this by 10, in my opinion. But what did you think of the clean finish? No screwdriver, no Don Callis, no bullshit. Just a big L for Will Ospreay.
Well, okay, so I think it's inexplicable that they are using Will Ospreay this way to put over his friend Kyle Fletcher. Like, I think that's a bad use of this guy. I don't think he should have lost in his entire first year in AEW. Having said that, they chose to do it. They did it in a way where, though, like you said, there wasn't any cheating, quote unquote, or like weaponry used. He did tombstone the guy on the stairs. Like, he did take great lengths to beat Will Ospreay. I don't think it I don't know. It's tough. It doesn't really hurt Will that much if you actually watch the match, but just him losing in general takes the heat off of his character a little bit. It always does. When you lose in wrestling, it always takes a little bit of heat off you. That's just kind of the way wrestling is. So I don't think Kyle Fletcher should have won, but the way that they did it, I think was actually pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Agreed with you there. And, with Mark Davis kind of aligning himself to Will Ospreay by the end of this match, we'll see where we go. We'll see what they end up going with this, because I still think that Mark Davis is going to turn on Ospreay for some reason.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Also, at some point, we should talk about the Mariah May Mina Shirakawa thing. We may have passed that.
Right now.
Or is that right here in the show?
Yeah, it happened right now.
Amazing.
So perfect timing.
Amazing. Let's talk about it now then.
Yeah, yeah. Where do we start?
So yeah. Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa wearing little black dresses, which be still my beating heart. Amazing choice there. But yeah, they celebrate. Mariah May is about to bottle Mina Shirakawa, but Mina Shirakawa is too smart. She does not trust Mariah May fully like Tony Storm did. And she sees the bottle coming, ducks the bottle. Fucking Liu Kang kicks the bottle out of her hand, which was absolutely fucking sick. That looked like some Jean-Claude Van Damme shit, like Steven Seagal, eat your heart out. Booted that bottle out of Mariah May's hand, and then Mariah May spits on Mina Shirakawa. Dirty move, and then Mina Shirakawa spears Mariah May off the stage through a table. Both of them wearing their beautiful black gowns. Spearing each other through tables. I thought this was great. Really, impressive visual in more ways than one, Boris, by God.
Yeah, this is a good break. I like when AEW does this. This is a way to give a break in the pay-per-view without really giving us a break, per se, right? So this is perfect timing for this. Fun little thing. I think a lot of people were expecting the return of Tony Storm. But it looks like we're going to get the May versus Shirakawa match before Storm comes back.
Yes. Yeah. Mariah May is an absolute star. Mina Shirakawa doing a great job as well. Yeah, this was great. No complaints, no notes. Awesome. And I'm excited for the match and feud and to see them on my television.
And in your dreams. TNT title match.
Yes.
Danny Garcia versus Jack motherfucking Perry. This match, we talked about this last week, and I got to bring it up again. It's like they just completely deflated this feud, and it felt like it in this match. And the fact that this match was so fucking slow. Oh.
Yeah. I did like the match, but it was like, yeah, they tried to change the pace from Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay and the upcoming match Takeshita versus Ricochet. They really tried to work like a slower, more deliberate pace, which honestly I appreciate. I liked this match a lot because it didn't look like every AEW match. That's for damn sure. I love Daniel Garcia's work. I like his character a lot. I think they waited way too long to give him a title. Way too long, but he's got one now. So good enough. Good enough, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. And to your point, right? Like, I do appreciate that Daniel Garcia does bring a different presentation or a different style to AEW. He's not, he's not like everyone else, and which is good. But yeah, this match, I don't know. It was good. It just I didn't feel invested in this match. And I guess Jack Perry's. Well, what do you think? What do you think he's going after this?
I worry, as you mentioned last week on our show, you were worried that Jack Perry and the Young Bucks are just going to be like on the shelf for the next 3 to 6 months, so they don't have to interact with the other bad guys, the Death Riders, and they don't have to kind of explain that. They can just like leave them on ignore for 6 months, and I fear that's going to happen to Jack Perry because I don't think he can afford another 6 months year away from television. Like the TV time is so precious. And Jack Perry has had almost none of it since he fought CM Punk one time at Wembley Stadium years ago.
Yeah. Still, it's yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It just sucks because I feel like Jack Perry was starting to really gaining some momentum as a heel, and it's just like, boom, you're done. Off. We'll see what happens.
Yes, I hope it's not that.
I hope it's not that. But the fact that he's not in the Continental Classic, to me, signifies that he's going to be gone at least until January.
Yeah, scary. Could be correct. Maybe he's healing up on an injury or something. But yeah, like that's a scary proposition for the Young Bucks and Jack Perry to just be out of sight and thus Boris out of mind.
Yep. But we'll see. AEW International Championship. Takeshita versus Rick O'Shea.
Yes, Rico O'Shea. So another problem with AEW that everyone says, but everyone correctly identifies it's a problem because it's a problem. They have 1,000 titles and none of them mean anything. And their world title, the one that's supposed to mean something, isn't even on television anymore, really. So yeah, the International Championship. Takeshita retains. Good match, a little disappointing. And I don't even think it was at all the fault of the performers. Like, I truly believe if you saw this match, for example, at Northern Crown Wrestling at the Blood Brothers Brewery, you'd fucking lose your mind. Like on an indie show, this match would have been amazing. But as the 10th of 12 matches on a random AEW pay-per-view in November, this is not, no one who saw this will remember it. And that's really sad because it was fucking Takeshita versus Ricochet. Like it could have been something truly special. And it kind of was just there, you know?
Yeah. 100% agreed with you. It was a good match. Again, I don't want to sound so negative, but again, like there are things to fix in AEW, and they're being identified not just by us, by so many people. That's the part that gets to me, right? And what's getting to me more and more is Tony Khan's avoidance to addressing anything that he hears, any of the criticisms. Like, dude, we want you to succeed for the most, like,
well, that's the thing. And it can be hard to tell sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it can be hard to tell what is a good faith criticism and what is an old man yelling at clouds. And believe me, Boris, we are old men. But no, I don't think like we're rooting for AEW to fail. Like we're in good faith, really hoping that they fix some of the problems that are clearly frustrating fans. And yeah, this match did not, they kind of shoehorned it onto the card. It did not need to happen. It could have easily main evented Dynamite and been something really cool and special. But yeah, for some reason they wedged it into this card, and it kind of meant nothing. It was a good match overall. I don't regret watching it by any means. But yeah, just as Ricochet was kicking out of death bombs 18 minutes into this match, I was kind of just like sad for him, for both of these incredibly talented performers. I was like, fuck, they deserve more than the crowd reaction they're getting. Like zero crowd reaction to some kickouts in a Takeshita versus Ricochet pay-per-view match. It's wild.
Crazy, right? This next match, again, felt like WWE booking, and it was so well done. And that's Swerve Strickland versus Bobby Lashley.
Yes, Bobby Lashley overpowers Swerve Strickland, beats the fuck out of this man, and Swerve, as you correctly predicted, Boris, passes out in the full Nelson, the Hurt Lock. Bobby Lashley fucking vaporizes this fool. Not a squash match, but he decisively won. And you can tell the story that, yeah, go ahead.
A 13-minute match in AEW is effectively a squash match.
Fair enough. Honestly, that's especially after the last few. I know exactly what you mean. That's fair. It's a good point. I think you tell the story that Swerve has literally never wrestled a wrestler this strong. He has never felt power like Bobby Lashley has, and in the long run, I think Swerve will win the feud versus the Hurt Locker. The Hurt,
or he just fucking joins them.
Yeah. Yes. Joins in the Hurt storage unit. Or whatever they're called, the Hurt U-Haul van.
Yep.
But yeah, no, they needed to push the Hurt business big out of the gate. I understand Bobby Lashley, one of his better matches in a long time, honestly, because it looked like the passion was gone for the last year or two in WWE. So yeah, this was a great performance. Honestly, a very solid match. I'm torn between this and the main event as what I would call the third best match on the show, but very good.
For me, it was this one. I really did enjoy this one a lot. Told a great story. It leaves you wanting more, right? Like that's what I want from wrestling. You don't want to, even when a story ends, you want to see where things go, right? If this is in the middle of their feud, so it's like, ooh, now what's gonna happen? I'm intrigued. Let's see where this goes.
Yes, and from all the shit we've been talking about AEW, it's good to acknowledge that they're telling a good story here. It was a nice, concise match. Great job. Well done by all involved.
All right, Jon Moxley, Orange Cassidy, AEW Championship.
I really like this. I thought this was very strong. I'm a huge Orange Cassidy guy. Orange Cassidy, possibly the most polarizing wrestler in all of wrestling today. People either love him or hate him. I love him. I think he's absolutely fucking great. Super entertaining. And this was the exact match it needed to be. Like, this one went 19 minutes and 20 seconds. If it was the main event of a 6-match show, it would have been very, very memorable. But we've already seen Moxley versus Orange like 4 or 5 times. So I don't know. It didn't quite have the punch, the orange punch you might want, but still a very, very fine main event, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was a good match. Like, here's the thing. I wish that this match, and I say this a lot, I know, but could have been shorter. And yes, we got the outcome of Jon Moxley absolutely kicking the shit out of Orange Cassidy, but you didn't need 20 minutes to tell that story.
Could have shortened it up, but if you're going to give any match 20, give the main event 20.
Course,
like,
yes.
I don't think, you could have shortened it up after that 4.5 hour show, 100%. But if anything, take friggin' Takeshita and Ricochet off the card. Sorry, boys, you're both very talented, but we just need a little more breathing room on this thing. Take a couple matches off the card and give them their 20. But yeah, at the end of this show, AEW pay-per-views always have this problem. Once they hit the main event, your eyelids are getting a little heavy. Like, your attention span is starting to wane a little bit. It's been 4.5 hours of balls to the walls, professional wrestling action. Your eyes start to cross a little bit, you know?
Yeah. And I applaud AEW for the post-match antics, but dare I say it felt overbooked, quote unquote.
Yeah, it was a little, we were getting near TNA territory. It was getting a little busy in that ring. But they're telling the story that it's chaos in AEW right now. This Death Riders group is just killing everyone. Only the strongest will survive, like the Halo song by Breaking Benjamin, Boris. So like I don't mind it. I don't mind it. But yeah, it was very busy.
I'm still flabbergasted that it's gonna be the fucking Bucks to save AEW. Like I still
I
don't
hope
fucking get
not.
it.
I hope not. It's got to be Kenny Omega or Eddie Kingston or both of them, and then Darby Allin is the one who puts the stake in John Moxley's heart. If
Yeah.
it's the Young Bucks, honest to God, I don't want to sound like friggin' Bob Kapoor here or an internet troll. Not that I'm accusing Bob Kapoor of being such, but I don't want to sound like your basic Reddit internet troll. But if it's the Young Bucks, I might never watch AEW again. Honestly, that's just such bad, inexplicable storytelling. It just makes no fucking sense. They just tried to shut the company down an hour ago.
Yeah, that's exactly it. All right, so Christian Cage tries to cash in. That doesn't happen. Jay White is out. Everyone is out. It's all pandemonium. Everything's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, wackiness ensues. Yeah, lots of moving parts at this juncture in the feud, but all we know for sure is that the evil bads, the big bads, kept the title under lock and key. And yeah, it was a very good match. Not the best Moxley versus Orange match, but these guys have awesome chemistry. I can watch them wrestle every single week.
Yeah, they have great chemistry. Really good match at the end of the day, and a lot happened. And look, I know we accuse AEW of telling really shitty stories, and at least we're getting something. But sometimes when they do stuff, it just doesn't make logical sense.
No, yeah, and yeah, again, like if the Young Bucks come back and are the ones to save AEW, that would make no sense. Having like had them just try to shut it down, I just worry that they do things and then they get another idea and they do that and they do that and they do that and just none of the dots connect. None of the points ever have anything to do with anything that happened previously.
Which is so weird because AEW, when they started 5 years ago, were amazing at connecting the dots.
Not only that, but tried to be like the wrestling company that paid attention to other companies, that tried to connect the dots from WWE and from New Japan and from Ring of Honor and all these things. But now it seems like they can't even keep their own backyard clean.
Yeah. Honestly, the more I think about this, I honestly think right now AEW is really, they've realized that they can't do certain things with their talent, right? That AEW needs to be on top in terms of the wrestling world. I'm not talking about WWE. Like, that's its own story, like its own world, right? But its own universe. But working with all these different companies and stuff, I think AEW is really starting to really realize, like, man, we have quite the conundrum trying to do all this and trying to be something for everyone in the wrestling business, and that's, I think, hurting them, and they're starting to realize that. So you're starting to see AEW close itself off a little bit, which is great and fantastic. But now it's like, now what? Now what do we do?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and I almost think they shouldn't do that. They shouldn't try to close themselves off, because they're not doing it well. They're not telling their own stories. They may as well try to be the big catch-all, because the storytelling, for whatever it was back in the day, back in 2019 to like 21ish, was far more
Cody
satisfying. Yeah, adrenaline.
I honestly think
the
he
book
was a bigger piece of the puzzle than people think.
honestly, it would make a lot of sense. And you could say what you will about the quote unquote Cody verse, like how he wasn't really, intertwined with the other stories that happened in AEW. But at least the Cody verse always made sense. And you might not have liked exactly the matches that were happening, but you might not have liked that he refused to turn heel for the crowd that really wanted to boo him. But I don't know. Obviously, it worked out pretty well for Cody Rhodes. He knows what he's doing. And yeah, man, I don't know. Great matches on the show, very entertaining work, too long and too confusing, and that's AEW.
That's AEW for you. All right, let us not go too long or be too confusing. Let's talk some WWE Survivor Series happening this Saturday from Vancouver, British Columbia. How are they going to BC and not having Chelsea Green on the card?
Are they not? Are they not going to do the finals of
No,
that
that's
that women's
Saturday night's
tournament?
main event.
Oh, really? Dang. Yeah, Chelsea's got to come out. They got to put her in some kind of promo, or she needs to make an entrance in front of that crowd for sure. That has to happen.
Yep. All right. Let us look at the card. So far, we only have 3 matches announced, 2 of them being War Games matches. So that's 2 hours right there. Let us talk about the women's War Games match. We have Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and most likely Bailey versus the Judgment Days, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. Are we going to get a bloody Candice LeRae?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, Candice LeRae bled a lot on the Indies. There's one super violent match that Candice LeRae and Joey Ryan. The less said about him, the better. Yeah, versus the Young Bucks. No, it was Candice and Joey Ryan versus the Young Bucks. And yeah, it's one of the most brutal wrestling matches I've ever seen. The Young Bucks beat the shit out of this poor girl. It's like terrifying to watch. But Candice LeRae takes an ass kicking. It's like one of those matches that you watch once and never again. Candice LeRae has taken some brutal ass kickings in her career. We might see the bloody Candice face in this match for sure. I think Rhea pins Liv to win.
I think so. Do we see Tiffany Stratton cash in?
Oh, I like that. Cash in. Yeah, that would be very interesting. I kind of want to see her cash in on Liv Morgan just because no one would see it coming. But yeah, that could be a way they go with this as well. They beat the crap out of Nia Jax, 5-on-1, beat her up, leave her laying, and then Tiffany Stratton cashes in her briefcase and leaves Vancouver as the women's champion SmackDown edition.
Not that, okay, in the off chance, the 0.001% chance that this main event, there will be a cash-in. The only way this match is the main event is if we see a cash-in at the end of the show.
That's a great call. I think the cash-in could happen anyway, even if it's at the start of the show. But if this happens at the end, you know it's coming.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. What do you think of Jade Cargill being pulled from this match?
Apparently she's legitimately injured. That's what the word is.
Yeah.
So
you have trolls trying to make the case that they pulled her because she's not good enough to be in a War Games match. You know what, people? You put them in a War Games match if people aren't good enough because you have so many people to surround them.
Yeah, it's a perfect place to hide a performer. They did a War Games match with like the greenest people in NXT 2.0 not too long ago. Not to be a dick, but they put fucking Kota Ibushi, who looks like pretty bad over the last few years. They put him in a War Games match in AEW, and that's like the only thing he's done in that company in the last few years. So, yeah, I think you can hide a performer in a War Games match.
Yeah, so that's that. Let us move on to the World Heavyweight Championship match. Gunther versus Damian Priest.
I would have Damian Priest win this match. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to put him in this match yet again for him to take another L. And I think it's okay for Gunther to lose to a wrestler like a Damian Priest, who is so big, who is so like himself pushed high at the top of the card. This could be like a Styles make fights thing. Gunther already beat him once. Damian Priest can avenge that loss, win the title back, and then Gunther can do something else for a couple months, possibly feud with a Goldberg, win the Royal Rumble, stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of think Damian Priest is going to win this match.
Which is a very interesting point. I would love to see Gunther be Goldberg's last opponent.
Yes.
Like I know they planted seeds, but that doesn't mean anything like in the grand scheme of stuff, right? But
a lot of people have said this. I think Andre said it on our podcast. I'm pretty sure the boys from Poison Rana said this because I saw it on Instagram that they said this. But if Gunther and Goldberg happens, Gunther needs to beat him in 10 seconds. Yeah. Squash that motherfucker like a bug.
Yep. Dolph Ziggler would be applauding that one.
Very good.
All right. Men's War Games match. You have Bloodline versus Bloodline. Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn, and CM Punk versus Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa, and Bronson fucking Reed.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I think The Rock is going to get involved somehow, possibly pull the cane, rip the door off its hinges, beat up Roman Reigns. I'm not sure if they're going to let the babyface bloodline get the W and then have The Rock come out, or have The Rock come out to cost Roman Reigns the match. But it seems like it makes more sense to have The Rock cost Roman the match. So yeah, I'm officially predicting Rock rips the cage door off its hinges like Kane did once upon a time, 1997 Hell in a Cell. Rock bottoms Roman Reigns, and Solo Sikoa pins Roman Reigns to win War Games.
That's kind of what I'm thinking as well. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I think we will see The Rock on Saturday. Only makes sense that he's at Survivor Series. He showed up at Bad Blood. Why not Survivor Series? So yeah,
yeah.
That like SmackDown was so good. That ending with CM Punk, just because it's like at some point we're gonna get Punk versus Reigns.
Yeah, Punk versus Reigns, that was teased. And this is all building to Punk versus Rollins, like Punk kind of sticking it to Seth Rollins, teaming up with Rollins' old friends who Rollins turned his back on. Like this is another knife in Rollins' back, which seems like that's going to be both of their next feud, Punk versus Seth. So yeah, very, very interesting. Lots of things happening. SmackDown was pretty good the other day. Like I watched most of it. I watched all of the Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes promo. That was fucking awesome.
Yep. Man, it still makes me laugh that Seth Rollins is like for those Dragon Ball fans, the fucking Yamcha of WWE. He just gets shit on all the time.
No, poor Sethy. Well, that's what you get for being such an absolute fucking dork all the time.
And that's kind of what I like, right? Like I like the fact that you have this goofball and he gets shit on. So it makes sense story-wise. I wonder if they're gonna add another match or two, because three matches seems very like, I know the War Games matches are about an hour each, but still, it's just 3 matches. It still seems a little low for a pay-per-view card.
Yeah, they should have Chelsea Green on this card, even if it's like a tag team match between the 4 women who are going to be in the finals of the Sunday night's main event tournament or whatever it's going to be. Saturday night's main event. Sorry, the Sunday night's main event is something else. R.I.P. But yes, yeah, they have to have Chelsea Green on this card. She has to make an entrance in Vancouver.
Yeah. Honestly, I would even replace Bailey with Chelsea Green. They can do something where Chelsea Green just says, fuck it. It's my hometown. I'm joining this team. Something along those lines.
For one day only, I am the babyface warrior. Yeah. And maybe it could be, if it's going to be, yeah, I totally agree. It does make sense. They at least like to get to anything to get her that big pop. Anything is good. But maybe Naomi gets taken out backstage because she is also a friend of Bianca Belair. I think we're building to the big reveal is going to be that Bianca Belair beat up Jade Cargill. Maybe Bianca also beats up quote unquote Naomi backstage. We don't find out who done it, but that's where your girl Chelsea Green comes in.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that we see something like that, because to me, it's very questionable that Chelsea Green isn't on this card. It makes sense for her to be part of the babyface team because, let's face it, in Vancouver, she's going to get the pop of the night.
Absolutely. And in a War Games match, I'm okay with a heel working with baby faces or vice versa for like one night only kind of thing. And honestly, Chelsea Green is very, very close to the crowd turning her baby face anyway, because she's so entertaining. But she is going to be one of, if not the biggest fucking star on this show, if and when she comes out to the ring.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely crazy. She's going to get the pop of the night. And yeah, and I think people also have to remember that Chelsea Green can work a War Games match. Like, she can go, to hardcore stuff. So,
yes, to the dark side, as it were, Boris. She is extreme, you might say.
Yes. Io Sky, the only woman to participate in every women's War Games match in WWE.
I fucking like it. She's like female Dusty Rhodes. Let's go. Dusty Sky.
Yep. All right. There you go. That is Survivor Series. We're going to be talking about Survivor Series on Sunday. That's pretty much where we're at, Matt. As always, it has been a pleasure chatting wrestling. And as always, let us know what you think of this show and the wrestling world and all that fun stuff. And We hope that you all enjoyed. Thank you for listening, whether this is your first show or however many shows we've had. We do appreciate each and every single one of you.
1000%. Yeah, it was great talking to you, buddy. And we'll be back, at least one of us, if not both, the next 3 weeks for big show reviews. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holiday season to everyone out there. And Patreon coming sometime in 2025. I've decided we're doing it. Need to make money, Boris.
I know, right? And as always, and most importantly, stay tranquilo.